Welcome back to the Better Man, Better Ball Player podcast. I'm your host, Trey Cobb, and I want to thank you for joining us for the first time, or if you are joining us again as a returning listener, I want to really give you a special thank you for trusting in us to deliver some good value, and I'm glad that you found some value to listen to it again. Here in the Better Man, Better Ball Player podcast, we are looking to listen to how coaches are not only helping men get better from a physical standpoint, but also how they are teaching the game and the lessons we learn through baseball to help them become better men outside of the game. Because what we also have seen so far throughout the podcast listening is that the commonality between the great players, they all have some type of great mental mindset and great mental skills. So no other than the guest we have on today that I get a chance to talk to is Trent Mongero. Coach Mongero coaches out of Georgia, coaches at Glynn Academy in Brunswick, Georgia. He is the founder of the National Elite Infield Camp, partnered with Trosky Baseball. He's an author of Winning Baseball. It's a book as well as video that has tons of information, tons of resources for people to follow. And you can check us out on YouTube. There's a big following there. He's a great follow on Twitter. You can see him on Mongero Mondays. He's the creator of that. You follow him on Facebook. He also does Trosky Tuesdays with Nate Trosky, where they talk about infield. I know they're getting ready to do a Sirius XM show as well. But he spent 26 years as a high school head coach, 29 overall. In 2017, he took his North Hall team from Georgia to the first state championship in high school in their history. He's been 3-time regional coach of the year as well as 2-time Georgia coach of the year. And in 2017, he was the national high school coach of the year. Just an incredible teacher of the game, very fundamentally sound. You hear a lot of that coming up through all his routines that he believes is important for people to know. He gets in and talk to us about his big 5 that every person should be doing each time, every day. He talks about how players haven't changed. Players haven't changed. It's a matter of the things that are around them that has changed. So it's speaking from a good coach there. His servant leadership and how he wants to help others, and he discusses his why he's a high school coach and why he chooses to do that, and how he keeps that on the forefront of every decision, everything he makes. So Trent Mongero is just a phenomenal coach, very huge following, just does the right way and is the right person. And I'm fortunate to have a conversation with him. We just had a great conversation, especially right before he's going to camp. He's extremely busy this weekend, and for him to fit me in and give me an hour to talk, it was awesome. And so really enjoyed this one. Hopefully have more of them, and really wish I could have got that infield camp because he was here close in Maryland. He was in D.C., but due to COVID, and there was just no visitors allowed, and parents weren't even allowed. So, but hopefully another time I get to actually go see him and what he does. But I couldn't recommend his stuff more. If you haven't checked out Winning Baseball, check them out on Twitter. What they're doing is just it's pretty incredible stuff. So, without further ado, I just want to welcome and again thank Coach Trent Mongero, head coach at Glynn Academy in Brunswick, Georgia.
Well, there hasn't been a lot stay consistent. There's been a lot of change. The one thing that's really been consistent to me are the kids, because we always say the kids are changing, and in a way they are, but we set the tone, we set the expectation. And basically the kids will respond, if they know you care and you're organized and you're giving them your best, you can build a culture that represents the hard work, the commitment, the dedication, all the things that we've seen and I've seen now for 29 years. The big change has been the parents, the landscape of travel baseball, showcase baseball, lot more selfishness, having to fight that element, So, I mean, but it's still baseball, and I still love to do it. And, I'm still inspired by my why. And that was, I did not have a positive high school experience at all with baseball. I was fortunate to persevere through because of goals that I had. And I knew that it could be better. And it eventually became a lot better. But I chose to be a high school coach because of that. And, here we are, year 29. So, yeah, those are the things that I see that have changed and that remain the same in a nutshell. I mean, I could go down a lot of rabbit trails with that one for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We can talk about small ball, things like that, and even just the simple things of how infield's changed. But I mean, I just love how you say that. Just shows, I think, the amount of leadership that you have to say the kids haven't changed, because we're going to be able to mold those kids and do those things through the kind of culture that we have. So I think that it really speaks to your leadership for sure.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Trying my best.
Yeah, for sure. But so I mean, thinking of like how have you, within your program, like you talked about the culture, like, so in the showcases and things like that, that's what's really changed. So have you really had to put more emphasis on being a teammate here recently? And how do you do that?
Yeah, I would say I spend a great deal of time teaching the kids what I want them to know. I don't assume that they know anything, and I'm talking now about their perspective of what it means to be a teammate. What it means to be on a team. What are we trying to get out of this from a personal standpoint, a developmental standpoint, a futuristic standpoint. Things that I can take with me for the rest of my life. I spend a great deal of time. I talk to them all the time about the importance of being a teammate. And if I see a tweet or I see a quote, I see an interview, I'll screen record it, I'll screen capture it, crop it down, shoot it out in the group me, make a comment. I don't know if you lost my picture there. I had a call come in, but yeah. So yeah, no, I'm constantly trying to reinforce what I want them to understand. And then whenever I have examples within my own program of guys that are representing what it means to be a great teammate, what it means to be committed, the sacrifice, I call them out in a good way. I use them as an example, is a better way to put it. And as soon as we finish with this question, I'm going to go tell them to turn that music off unless it's not bothering you.
No, I don't hear it at all.
Okay. All right, cool. Because I don't have headphones in, so you're just getting your natural sound here. Okay. But no, I think we have to sell what we want the kids, to embrace. You just can't assume, especially now more than ever. And believe me, even 29 years ago, there were still kids that were selfish. I think that's a little bit of the human element. I mean, we all want what we want, right? We all want to play. We all want to start. We all want to be that guy. We want, if we have goals to play in college, we have the tendency to start putting that in front of what's important for the team. So it's not like this is something new. We just see a greater percentage of it now than ever. So, yeah. So, to me, you got to do everything that you can to create the mindset in the players that you're wanting them to embrace.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like so? And you've heard a lot of, I see you at the conventions. I know you're there. You're a constant learner, and you heard a lot of talk about the classroom. So, do you, in your facility, do you guys spend the time in the classroom, or you spend a lot more time in the off season doing those things?
Well, very, very blessed. So, in the fall, I have my baseball players for an hour and a half every day. We're not technically in the classroom, but we are. We're in an old gym that was built in 1928. And for any of you that have ever seen the movie Hoosiers, it looks exactly like that gym. So the new generation is going, huh? Hoosiers, what? Mm-hmm. But, guys like you and me that have seen the movie, we understand the old time gym, literally built during the Depression. Glynn Academy, where I teach, is the second oldest high school in the state of Georgia. It's a public school. It's the fifth oldest high school in the United States of America. So this gym that I have is just I mean, literally our weight room is on half of the gym. On the gym floor, it's like, it's a small gym floor. You know how you barely had any out of bounds. Remember that look?
It's
And then it
stage
went
there and
straight up to
everything.
the stands.
Yep.
So half the gym, it's not used for basketball anymore. We have other gyms for that. But so we have the weight room, and then we have half of it is just the floor to do. We have ladders painted, dots painted. We can do it. And we have big brick walls everywhere to do all sorts of wall ball stuff. So it's a classroom in the sense that when I want to talk to them about something, we have a big TV that I can pull up something on. I do occasionally, or I just sit them down and start talking to them about what's important, or something that's happened, or something that I've sent them in group me, or just something that they need to hear, whatever it is. I'm not quite like Tim Corbin, where I set up these huge, where I have this,
Curriculum.
I'm getting curriculum. Yeah. I don't have a curriculum. I just really, I'm more of a teach in the moment,
like the pulse, like the pulse of whatever your team kind of needs. We're going to dive into that.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yep.
Now, will you start off with like a kid's goals, or like what, as a program, do you have certain standards that you've kind of created, or are you around that, or is it mostly just
I mean, again, one of the big things I want to convey here is I don't have these pie in the sky, I'm not Mr. Perfect coach. I do the things that I feel like are most important. And we have what we call the script. And it's kind of I don't like the name of it because it kind of sounds like we have some sort of secret sauce, but it's really just a process of developing a culture that I have found to be successful. It's worked for me. And that involves different things. Now, I don't have the typical sit down goal meeting where we're going to talk about your personal goals and team goals. I mean, our goals are pretty simple. They're to win the region championship, which a region in Georgia is like a big conference. And then we want to win the state title. So step one is region. Step two is state championship. And, beyond that is to help you, because your personal goals come behind the team goals, is to, achieve anything that you can possibly achieve. And within that, I share with them how important it is to have a resume with me. Something that, what I mean by that is where I get to know the kids, in a way that I can speak on their behalf to a coach accurately, with passion. I can tell you, if you were a college coach, if I'm talking about Johnny, I can truly tell you what this kid is like. What's his makeup? What's his commitment? What's his skill levels? What's his strengths and weaknesses? What's his academics like? What's his family life like? That, to me, is the most important thing. So back in my early days, I did more sheet of paper. Today we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about, everybody's going to write down their personal goals and their team goals and that kind of thing. And I've just moved away from that. It doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. As a coach, you get to decide what you want to do. I mean, we have our simple goals for a team. They're very specific, and everything that we do, basically our motto is brick by brick. Okay, we're building a championship program, a championship season every single day. Every day we put a new brick down to, as we go to build this season. And to me, that's all they really need to know. We come and we concentrate on giving our best effort. It's irrelevant to how we feel. Feeling good is overrated. You'll hear me and Nate talk about that all the time. And I convey that to my players. You got to find out what motivates you. You got to come to work. We're going to put the brick down as the team, and you're going to put a brick down individually towards your goals, whatever those goals are. To be a starting infielder on the varsity level, or do you want to, play collegiately or professionally? What are your goals? So, anyways, that's how I do it, as opposed to really sitting down and making them write them. Now, I will tell them that it's a good idea to have those written down somewhere themselves, but I should be able to know what their goals are by speaking with them, by watching them go to work, because their work is going to tell me where they're headed, right? Their intent. You can tell me you got all these goals, but if your behaviors aren't matching up, it's going to be pretty evident right away. 100%. So if you're one of my players and you're getting after it every day, I'm going to talk, hey, all You get after it every day. The consistency level, it's impressive, and you start to talk to them and find out really where they want to go in life, what they want to do, what they want to become. And you just keep reinforcing those positive, storylines with as many players as you can on a daily basis. So, and those high school coaches that are with me will tell you it's tough. It's tough to talk to the kids as much as a college coach because we're teaching class, we're having practice, we're having workouts. I mean, we go all year. So the guys take some breaks here and there, but we start 4-on-1s. We're already in 4-on-1s in Georgia. So in fact, we got them today. My assistant's running them. We'll have 5 sessions of 4 players, focus on defense for 2.5 months. And then we'll go to offense. In Georgia, we start our high school season like January 13th, I think. It starts tryouts. So, I mean, it gets on us quick.
Sure.
And then we stay together for the summer and play in tournaments. So I'm around these guys an awful lot. So I really get to know them. And if I was a coach that didn't get to spend as much time with them, I might be more inclined to have them write things out so that I can go look at them and go, hey, all right, now let's talk about this. I see you wrote this down. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And that works. I mean, that works, for some people. But I think you see now why.
But you know your kids so well and you spend so much time that it's not necessary.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So it depends on your scenario as a coach, Yeah. And that's the beauty of coaching really is that's the beautiful thing about all of this is when it's your program, you get to decide how it works. Of course, I think if you're smart, you take, you learn from others and you grow and you take the input of your assistants. But ultimately it comes down to you to what you want to do. Do you want to spend a lot of time over here working on a curriculum, like Tim Corbin does? If I was in a college scenario like him, there's no doubt in my mind I'd be implementing something like that. So yeah, it's really a lot of fun. And, that's the exciting thing is to figure out what works and do your thing.
For sure. That was fantastic. So have you seen, so those guys who who you felt like basically have a good makeup and you see like the behaviors are matching them. Are there certain traits that you've seen out of the guys that you've, I know you've had plenty of guys that you've coached collegiately that went and as well as professionally. Do you see a common thread between those kids?
Yes, I do. Commitment is off the charts. Self-motivation is off the charts. They're just very driven. And they are willing to go above and beyond to make their dreams come true. What we do as a team is minimal for those guys. They're putting in work on their own. They're serious about the weight room. They're serious about their academics. In fact, there's a consistency to them. The same person that I see at the field and at practice and in the weight room is the same person that's in class and the same kid that's in the community. Not that they're perfect. Yeah, but it's not that they're perfect. I mean, they're still kids. They'll occasionally make a mistake. But when you have goals and dreams and you're driven, your intent is off the charts, you're much less likely to be drawn away by distractions, right? Temptations. So, I mean, when you ask me, I think about the best players that I've coached and the guys that have gone on and done the most, they really do have that in common. I can't really think of a guy that I've had that was just so blessed with ability that they could just do whatever they wanted and flippantly go through high school and it just worked out perfect for them. I haven't coached that guy. I know that guy exists, but I haven't coached that guy. Yeah. And, it's amazing how they buy in. They'll really buy in, I don't know if it comes with, I think my players have always bought in with me, but the more you do, as far as they trust you, they begin to really trust you. Like you start to build a resume, and they well, he's won state titles. He's done this and that. And, if we just do what he says, he knows what he's talking about. And, that's not really fair. That's not fair. I mean, I don't think that I put feathers in my cap and that draws attention to me from my players. But, just thinking over the years, I think the buy-in has been a little quicker. You know what I mean? Like some of the programs that I built when I was a really young coach right out of pro ball, I think it was a little harder, especially with the parents. Especially with the parents. They look at you like you're a kid, when you're first starting, the parents,
Sure.
And now I'm older than the parents. Now I'm older than the parents. So there's not a whole lot they can tell me, but that I haven't seen. But it's I do think that really helps when you have enough experience that they can't talk down to you anymore. They're actually like, this is an adult that I'm speaking to.
Sure.
When the parents are, I think so. I really think that helps. And I do think that the buy-in is a little bit faster. Like when I left Laney High School, where Michael Jordan went to high school, the famous Laney High School in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I coached there for 13 years, my first 13 years, and built the program, and the first 4 or 5 years were a struggle for me, establishing, especially with the parents, like, they just almost feel like they can bully you around a little bit, whether it's with money or influence or, and you got to stand your ground and you got to have that backing of your administration and all those things. But, the kids worked hard for me. They definitely worked hard for me. But I just sense it a little different. Like this is my 4th year at Glynn Academy. I moved here on the heels of, our team winning a state title at North Hall. And, it just seemed like there was an immediate buy-in and, from everybody. So maybe it just happens a little faster, but anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. Young coaches can do it.
But like I said, I think at the beginning you talk about being organized, showing that you care. Like you can tell fully, Cheryl, even just with the word, like how passionate you are about your kids, you care about your players. So I think it's having a little bit of those traits of what you're saying too, caring about your kids, because I know you're extremely organized, being detail oriented. So those kind of things, which have ultimately led to a lot of your success.
And I've always been that way, in some parts of my life. Like if my wife were listening, she would say, he's not that organized. You know what I mean? And then certain things, the things that are most important to me, I'm super organized. And, you hear like the phrase, I've even quoted it, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. Well, that's not really 100% the case with me. I'm a little bit, I'm not a neat freak kind of person at the house and all that kind of stuff. But I want things done the right way at the field. And that really comes back to my why, though. Like, why am I giving because I could be doing other things,
Sure.
I could go full time with Nate, traveling, doing camps. I could, but I still choose to be a high school coach. So I endure the classroom, which has its good and bad days, with the regular students at the school that are non-athletes. I work with players. Sometimes they take you for granted because you're with them all the time. They're paying $3,000 to go play on a showcase team. So they might tend to think that's more important or whatever. But when they graduate and they get away, and they really can reflect back, they realize, holy cow, how much time and effort we truly give to these guys to have the best program and to help them individually be the best players. So, I know it's going to come full circle. So my why just stays true every day. I try to be energized, I try to be focused, and just be the best coach that I can be.
And you said, like it said, your why was all about trying to make a better experience for guys than what you had.
Yes.
Yep.
That's what it boils down to. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Cause I had a conversation with a really great coach, good friend of mine, close by. And he asked about, why do I do it? Cause I don't, when I was I'm coaching in the off season or something like that. Like I'm just not taking a lot of money and things like that. And he was like, well, why would you do, you provide such a valuable service. And I'm like, it's just not what I'm about. It's just not why I do what I do. I mean, I want to provide, I had to handwrite notes and give and try to sell myself to go to the next level. I don't want someone else to do that. I want to be able to give that person a better opportunity than I had, and it's just, it's just something that I'm about as well. But yeah, it's great that you can keep that. So that's always been your North Star, right?
That's it. I mean, when I got released from pro baseball, it literally went down like this. I was walking the beach in Wilmington, North Carolina at Wrightsville Beach. the Braves had just let me go. And I was like, what am I going to do? I'm a baseball player, what do I want to do? And so it hit me. It was like, dude, you made a promise to yourself that when your playing career came to an end, that you would be a coach. I mean, that's literally like what my brain said to me. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. Like the next day I went back and re-enrolled in UNC Wilmington, changed my degree to, teaching physical education, and made straight A's right through, student taught. And, I was one of the youngest high school coaches, head coaches in the state of North Carolina, by 25 or 26. Now, Laney at the time was a top 10 size school in the state, and most people thought I was too young to be a head coach. It's changed a little bit now. Back when I was breaking in the mid 90s, there wasn't a lot of you didn't see a lot of mid 25-year-olds like as high school coaches,
Right.
Not at your big schools anyways. So yeah, I like, it hit me that day on the beach, and I was like, here we go. And here I am 29 years later. So
That's awesome. So it's great. Another thing to talk about with coaches too, like creating buy-in, keeping that longevity and staying consistent is having a purpose. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? I think that's another great principle you're saying, even without even saying it. So
well, I think people need to understand that coaching isn't what it once was. I mean, it's really, to me, a good high school program is almost of the caliber of what a college program was 30 years ago. Like, what the expectations that we have, from the community, ourselves, and the facilities. I mean, like, our facilities are off the charts. They're better. My high school facilities are better than my college facilities. I was a D1 player, and, we didn't have anything like what we have here. Not every high school has that, but there's a lot of really beautiful facilities out there in the country. We go all year. We're working in season, out of season, summer, weight room, booster clubs, all the logistics. There's so many more like things that you have to be worried about now logistically than when I first started. Really, you were just a coach, and there wasn't like all these rules. Now there's like everything has a rule and paperwork that goes with it, and it can overwhelm a new coach. Like, there's just teaching alone, the expectations that they have at school, with lesson plans and you name it. It's on your plate. Buses, umpires, parents, rescheduling, scheduling JV games, varsity games, workouts, dealing with, disgruntled players or whatever, weight room, workouts, off season, in season, summer schedule, like camps. And then I'm traveling on the weekends, like this weekend and next weekend, to Washington, D.C. and Kansas City. And I got more this fall. I'll be working on, flying and get in at 12 midnight tomorrow, work camp all weekend with Nate, fly back in, get back at 1 o'clock in the morning at the airport in Jacksonville, drive back, get back here about 2:30 in the morning. I'll be at school 7 o'clock in the morning teaching class, doing 4-on-1s after school. Not, whoa, I don't mean like, that may sound like, well, he's trying to pump himself up. I just want people to know, like, when you're committed, you're committed, and I get a chance to help kids in these camps that it's kind of the same as me helping my players. We're helping. There's coaches that usually come to our camp. So, they're learning, and we learn too. Nate and I learn from people that we're exposed to, but it's just all giving back. It just boils down to giving back. I mean, and when you love what you do, I'm not saying every day is like hunky dory, walk in the park, love it. But it is very rewarding. Yes.
Sure. And you're passionate about baseball, and yeah, absolutely, it doesn't feel like you are working, and that's true. And I tell you what, let's talk a little bit about camp, man, and what you guys do there. I know that's with you being the author of The Winning Baseball and how fundamentally sound you were, and then I know when Nate Nate started putting all his stuff out about 10 years ago and getting into his stuff, and how did that relationship start between you guys?
Well, that's a great question. Nate and I, as much as we're the same, we're very different. He's West Coast, I'm East Coast. He's very like he speaks on levels, like he's unbelievably intelligent and articulate and just has a way of putting things that I would never even think to say. But I also, I think we're a really good match. We're like, we complement one another because Nate is really more about training the individual, and I'm more about training the team and the individual, or training the individual within a team environment.
Team, right.
Yeah. So, our perspectives are a little bit different, right? And, so if we're talking to coaches, I can speak their language. I can talk to youth coaches. Nate can too, but he's still talking about individual player development more than he is a team. So we bring different perspectives, but our stories are eerily similar, really. Our routes through college and professionally and our struggles to make it and wanting more information. We were both very hungry, hungry learners like sponges. And, we both didn't learn what we know, not even close to what we know till our playing days were over, and to us, that's like the biggest crime is why do you have to be out of the game and done with the game to learn the game at a level you need to know when you're playing, right? So
Yeah.
it's like been our mission to try to educate. And again, we don't know it all, but we are students of the game to the highest degree. And so basically how it started was, I saw something that Nate did and online. I reached out to him via Twitter. We started talking. We called. First conversation was over an hour. Just, sharing stories. We started connecting. There was an immediate bond. And I could tell by watching that he knew exactly what he was talking about. And he was a very high level, high order thinker, coach, just a master teacher. And, I try to expose myself to as many of those kinds of people as possible. I'm not intimidated by people that are smarter than me. In fact, I want as many of those people around me as possible, whether it's on my staff or at camps or what have you. And that had been my trend for years, to bring in the best guys in the country for our hitting camps and our, I've had elite infielding camps for 25 years. And so I said, Nate, hey, you want to, come down and work camp? I'll fly you in. And he was like, sure. He trusted me enough through our relationship and talking infield play. And he came in last Thanksgiving. Before Thanksgiving, we worked at camp at Glynn Academy here, and we hit it off. And, we accented one another, like I said. And literally within a week, we had an opportunity to do another camp in Dallas. And that at that point, our infield relationship, our, Trosky Mongero relationship was born, because we went to Dallas. We had kids flying from 14 states. We had 12 states at my high school camp alone.
Nice.
Half of them coming in, and I was averaging about 6-7 states a year, people coming in. So with Nate coming in, he's got like his, people that really know Nate more than, and kind of some people that know me through winning baseball or what have you. And you put the two of us together, and, sometimes things just work, right? And in this particular instance, it works. So, we were supposed to do 4 camps this summer. COVID killed them all, delayed them or suspended them or rescheduled them. And then, so now this weekend up in Washington is our first one since Dallas, which was the 28th, 29th, and 30th of last year. That was our last camp. So, really excited. But of course, we do the Trosky Tuesday things. We've done the blue collar lockdown. We've done the virtual infield camp, together. We're like brothers. We talk on the phone almost every day. And I'm a better coach because of my relationship with Nate. And I would hope that he would echo the same sentiments about me. I mean, I think like we help one another.
Sure. No, I'm sure he would. It's just, it's definitely great. You can definitely tell how well you guys complement each other for sure. But yeah, the amount of knowledge and the details of the infielders too, and because it's just like spotting a good pitcher, spotting a flaw. Like there's still something about spotting even a flaw on an infielder, or spotting something that might help them to get to a certain angle or a certain spot in the ball. And you can tell that you guys both have that, and you each can do it a little differently and say it. And now, because I've used each of your cues, and like I love his suave stuff and how to be smooth, and at the same time I love like your just intricacies of your hand placement for you. Like those are both great. It is. It's just a great way because I think even as coaches, we're all looking for maybe one way maybe different to say it that might help a kid. And
yeah, no, there's no doubt. I mean, it really comes down to, figuring out what works for you. I mean, I use Suave, I use water. I use Nate's verbal cues all the time with my own players. I don't care. All I care about is that they understand the concept that I'm trying to teach. And one thing that I think Nate would tell you, I know he would tell you, and I would tell you the same thing, is we both have gone from early in our career as being very rigid, like this is the way you do it, to being more freedom, promoting more of the athleticism, more, just there's more than one way to do things. And you try to, we always talk about it all the time, you learn the rules. And then when you get really good, you can break the rules. Right. So, but yeah, we both were like, a press through only. We were both, we went through that era where in the, I would say, that's the way I learned in college. So late 80s, all the way through the mid 90s, everybody was press through, as video got more prevalent. Like, I used to hate the word funneling. Like I still don't we talk more about receiving the ball, and make sure you're doing that correctly, because there is dangers, to funneling, depending on what your interpretation of that word is.
Yeah.
But there is a press, there's a pick and a receive, there's 3 glove actions. And we started talking more about like tools, having a toolbox as an infielder, and having tools with your feet, with your hands, with your actions, with your, with your arm slot, everything, just really having tools. Like, and when you can create all these different tools and feel comfortable with them, they start to play. They just come out. You don't even have to think about it. They just show up, right? They show up when you start taking ground balls, when you start, playing in the game. And I just think as a young coach, we got to be careful of that. It's just kind of like, it's like we get smart enough to be dangerous. You're like, we learn and we learn and we learn. And we start feeling like it's just, it's this way. Like we have it figured out. Like everything has to be the way, boom, 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 boom. And then I think as you grow older, it's like you go through these cycles and you start to realize, what, maybe that wasn't necessarily correct, So there's probably 3 or 4 things, if I had a chance to do those books over again, that I would certainly reword or, teach a little bit differently. I think the vast majority of it was on the money. I mean, Tim Hires did all my hitting. He's one of the best guys. I mean, he's a big league hitting coach for the Red Sox. Right. Before that, the Dodgers. I mean, he's the best in the world, in my opinion. I'm so blessed to get to know Tim, and we have a dear friendship. And, that's what I mean. I get to bring guys like him into camp, Trosky into camp, Steve Springer into camp. And so anyways, Nate and I, we've grown. We both have grown. We went from more rigid to more toolbox-oriented coaches, and just preparing our players and building out the athleticism. And that's what I work on every day with my guys, is just really trying to improve their body control, their athleticism, their confidence in the way they move and how they move, and, their ability to move. We spend a ton of time on that kind of stuff, and it really does make a huge difference.
What are your like top ways that you like to build athleticism? Like, what are ways that?
All right. Well, the first one is obvious, right? Through the weight room, through weights. So just, how you move weights, triple extension lifts, transfer of energy from the ground up through your body, but we do things like, which we haven't been able to do this year because of COVID. We do all sorts of tumbling, literally like rolls, forward rolls, cartwheels. We do combinations of movements on the mats. We do animal movements that mimic, different types of animals, just creating free-flowing, good hip flexibility. To me, that was huge. We did that 3 times a week. This year, we haven't been able to do it at all. So we jump rope like it's going out of style. This was the first year I put as much of an emphasis I have in jumping rope. Literally every player has his own rope in my program. We go through a 15 stage routine, 15 different movements with jump ropes that they do. So their feet, their hands, their coordination, I mean, it's amazing. Just a couple of weeks how much their body control, the way they're moving, how light they are on their feet. You just see their bodies start to move. Of course, we do lines. We do lines, but not that much. We do ladders. And so we're to the point where now we're doing ladders like backwards. So instead of like just doing forward movements, and instead of just doing 3 or 4 like most people do, we have 15 different foot patterns that we do through ladders, and then we do them backwards. So now they're starting to do them, when you can do things backwards. Same thing with jumping rope. We're now implementing everything backwards. Okay. The dots. So weights, the tumbling, the ladders, forwards and backwards, the jumping rope, those things within themselves. And then all of the wall ball stuff for hand-eye coordination that you see Nate do, and that I do, we literally do that stuff, just about every day. And you don't have to do it long. We juggle. We juggle off the floor. We juggle off the wall. We juggle with partners. We juggle with 2 hands. We juggle with 1 hand. I mean, we literally like challenge them. So when I first got here, they couldn't even juggle. I had like 2 guys that kind of knew how to juggle. Now they look like a circus, I mean, that's what it looks like when we start juggling. They can do more than I can do. We do ball manipulation stuff with our hands with baseball. It's like, flip, roll, tuck on here, off the elbow, around, swing it around. I mean, all that stuff, it pays off, but it takes planning. I'm blessed to have them during the day where we have this time, and they have bought in that it works. And they're seeing that it works. You know what I mean? Now we go out and we take ground balls, and like, you just go, holy cow, like, look at them move,
No, so are you saying most of the thing that you do there is it just with your infielders, or are you talking just full program?
The entire program. So we train our entire programs to be shortstops. Every single player, catchers, infielders, outfielders. Because to me, if you can play shortstop, you can play anywhere on the field. The skills you need to play shortstop, once you possess those, you're dangerous anywhere on the field. Sure. So, of course, when we do position-specific stuff, the catchers are going to work on their catching, receiving, blocking, throwing, okay? That's where they spend the majority of their time. But the infielders, all my infielders except the first baseman, train as shortstops, okay? Now, my outfielders, I don't bring them in to train as shortstops, but the training that they do in class, all that stuff I was telling you, they're all doing all that, which to me is training like a shortstop. Yeah. So, they go out to center field and, they move around with ease, and I think it just really, really transfers, and if it didn't, I wouldn't do it. And, I truly, my players, when they listen to this, if they were to hear me, they wouldn't be going, what is Coach talking about? He's like making stuff up, no, this is like literally what we do. And I just think the human element for coaches, there's a lot of really good high school coaches out there, but there's some, the human element is to be lazy, right? So like by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, how do you feel after teaching a whole day? You're tired, aren't you?
Worn down. Yeah.
Mentally tired and worn out. Okay. Even if you were teaching PE, you're still engaged. You're still focused. You're still, it wears on you, and now 4 o'clock, you got to be at your best for 2.5 hours with your kids. The easy way to do it is let's just take some BP and some ground balls today. Mm-hmm. We'll throw, take some BP, some ground balls, get out of here.
Yes, sir.
Because you're tired, and there's nothing wrong with that routine occasionally. There is a time for a really light day. But I just think, I'm not going to be that way. I'm just not going to be that way. No, my goal is not to keep, I'm not going to keep them there as long as my goal is not to like wear them out either. So 2.5 hour practice, if you're engaged and you have routines like we do, you're getting a lot done. So, absolutely. And they have fun, and then you win, and that's fun too.
Exactly. So it's all like it's all leading to that, because all you're winning baseball every day, and all the game is just it's just really your reflection of your preparation. Yeah. But like I said too, like you're not going to do that because that's not part of your why either. Like that's not part of making a great experience. So it's no wonder. So I mean, are some of those things that you also incorporate into camp too, to kind of show people here's how we're also developing some more athleticism?
Yeah, we haven't done the jump rope stuff. Probably should. You know what I mean? I think young people are amazed. I think when you talk to your team, like, we're going to jump rope, they think, I can jump rope. You know what I mean? I can jump rope. And then they get out there, start trying to jump rope and trying to do this stuff, and they look like a fish out of water,
Yeah.
Maybe it's not as easy as I thought it was.
It's like saying, like, I can hit a fungo. Yeah, sure you can.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Here's a fungo. Give it a shot. So yeah, no, like, we do a lot of this stuff, the wall ball stuff, the footwork stuff. We don't do ladders. We don't do dots. Really, to be completely honest and transparent, we don't have time.
Yeah.
Like, even like, people say to us all the time, like, okay, you guys are doing an Elite Infield Camp. You're 9 to 5 on Saturday, 9 to 4 on Sunday. What in the world are you going to do?
Yeah.
Hit them ground balls all day? I mean, that's what they think.
Right.
And then, like, we hardly ever, we take a little bit of ground ball time. We have a little bit of ground ball time, but it's just a minor fraction. And we usually leave on Sunday night and we're still not done covering, because when you tie the mental side, which is Nate's biggest thing of all the things he does well, I think he does that, applying the mental game to camp. Like, so everything that we do has an element of mental in it. And, we do so much skill development, and we do so many drills. And, of course, then I teach them the big five, that I do, and, with my guys. And they just walk away with all of these tools, from camp. So there's not really time to jump rope, do ladders, do lines. Of course, we can't tumble. There's no mats. So, but they do the wall ball stuff, Usually we do get into an element of that, but you'd be surprised. We don't even, unless we're indoors, which we're probably going to be Saturday up in Washington because of the hurricane remnants coming through there. We will probably get more wall ball type stuff in that type of environment than if we were outside.
Sure. What? So you talk about the big five. Like, what's your big five you talk about? As an infielder?
Yeah, so big five, so to me, everything is about routines, and then you build off of routines. Your players need to know routines. So we have a throwing routine. We have our big five infield drills, which basically all my infielders, regardless of what position they play specifically, they all execute the big five when we're doing our position specific work. So one of our practices that we have is going to be, we call it position specific, and basically every infielder in grade 9 through 12 is going to be with the infielders, same thing outfielders, same thing catchers, and they all have their core drill work. So the big five is your core drill work. And then we have other core drills for what position you play. So the third baseman, after he does the big five, which are generic infield drills, and I'll explain in a minute how that works, but they would then go to third base and do 5 drills specific to third baseman, okay, and what they need to play that position. Middle guys, after we do our big five, we go and we're going to work on double play feeds and pivots, tags, slow rollers, whatever. Okay, we're going to implement a series of things that go above and beyond the big five. And then the first basemen are doing a very similar series as the third baseman, because those positions to me are very similar in nature. So the big five, basically you're doing, you got short hop drills. We got the Aussie drill, which is very similar to what you see Ron Washington working with his guys. We do it with partner. Yeah, I've been doing that one for 25 years. We're not fungoing them as short fungos or anything, or, we're partnering. So they're doing short hop drills. They're doing the Aussie drill. They're doing 3-step, 5-step drill. They're doing choose your hop drill. And then they do a fly ball drill. Those are the big five to me. And the reason why I chose and called them the big five, and they're on my YouTube channel as the big five, is all those drills incorporate specific parts of the fielding process that I think are vital, in my opinion, to being a good infielder. Okay. So it just allows them to, we've taken all of it and kind of incorporated them into these 5 drills called the big five. And if you can do well at these big 5 drills, you're probably a pretty good fielder, because it incorporates feet, hands, actions, everything that you need, angles, all of it's tied in. And then, so yeah, that's the big five. So we, that's what we do. Everything is routine based. And like I say, once you build routines, that to me, like a young coach needs to understand this, because a lot of times we're understaffed. And
Yes.
like, you're like, I can't do this, like I'm overwhelmed. Well, when you build routines, players will actually be able to execute those routines without you being around. So, or like you being able, like I could go out and work with my outfielders, and my infielders know exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes,
Now
sir.
that just doesn't happen overnight, right? You
Sure.
literally got to train them up, like bit by bit by bit by bit, put one drill in at a time. So it takes years really to build a program. But these are little bits and pieces to it. So I love the Big Five. We'll work on that in camp, as I was saying. That's one of the things that I'll teach. I think throwing routines are huge. Can't throw, you can't play. And there's been a lot of people over the last 5 years that have started, and it's not like we invented it, but we have been, even in my books, I got a throwing routine and winning baseball. We did it in college. I think it's common sense. If you use your throwing time, your warm-up time, literally to get better, to become a better thrower, a better receiver of the baseball, that's going to transfer to everything you do on defense. And if you're a good throwing team, you're not going to make a lot of mistakes. And so it transfers, and we take huge pride in our throwing. So again, we'll talk, and infielders throw a certain way. They have certain footwork options. We cover all that at camp. We cover it's truly like most people walk away with their brains exploded. And it's not that any of it's rocket science. It's really just a systematic approach of purposeful stuff that makes you better. That's all it really is. There's no magic to any of this stuff. None of it. Coaching, practices, drills, you got to use what works. You got to understand the why. Like, why are we doing this drill? Because I saw it on Twitter and it looks cool, or because it really works on ABC. And I think like that's a key thing that this player really needs. And then there's certain drills like the Big Five that I feel like everybody needs. You know what I mean? Like, so there might be certain drills that I have you do because of the weakness that you have, but we're going to all do the Big Five, So yeah, it's just, that's what coaching is. That's the beauty of it. But if you just go into practice every day and you really don't know what you're doing, you're like, figure it out when I get there kind of thing, and you're not going to get nearly as much out of your team and your players as you would if you prepare.
100%. 100%. That way you can be purposeful with your stuff, purposeful with your.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So just last things, I know we're coming up here in an hour, is you talked about how Nate incorporates that mental part into camp. Have you taken any of those things then into your instruction, either with your guys at Glynn Academy or anything?
Yes.
I
try. Yes. The mental game is hugely underrated, which means it's tremendously important. And people don't give it nearly the credit that it deserves. And it's easy to talk about mental toughness. It's easy to talk about the sixth tool. It's easy to, we try to help define it for the players, which Nate has already done, the rock, the rack, all these things and what each one specifically means, and the characteristics of them, creating the tough-minded player, the focus and energy, being on time every pitch, not taking pitches off, the space between each pitch. They start to learn about their brain and how it wanders, and the voice of doubt, and, how we build confidence, and, and then applying it, the concentration levels, the competitive levels, understanding failure, and, playing tension free. I think a big thing that, all coaches can do to help their players, and I have to be careful when I say this, but you have to allow your kids to play with freedom. Like, you have to give them permission to fail. Baseball players play their best when they're having fun and they're playing free and easy, like they're playing in the backyard. That's, they got to have fun. Now, on the other side of the token, there has to be an element of discipline to it. So you just can't let them, just haphazardly be wild and crazy and talking junk to everybody. And, there's an element of freedom. And to me, it comes down more with the skill itself. Like, so, I'm going to tell my hitters, like, our total goal as a hitter is, to hit the ball hard. We're going to have an approach. I could care less if you got 3 hits or, 0 hits, if your approach was good at the plate. So, of course, quality at bats, with Steve Springer Steve and I do a Bible study every day together for the last 4 years. So, he and I are about as tight as you can get. And, I'm privy to, inside basically spending time with him. But the thing about Steve is you can bring him in to hear him speak or buy his CD, and you're going to get as much as I get pretty much talking to him every day. But it goes back to freedom, confidence. When players play with tension and they're worried about their coach and being yelled at, being punished, they play tight. And when you play tight, you don't play to your full potential. So I think you have to have a blend of, giving kids freedom to fail, but you still have to have your expectations. You can't come in and just start chucking helmets everywhere and F-bombing this and GD and that. And, because that's an element of mental weakness as well. Like, how do you handle your failure? So that's a long answer to your question. And yes. How foolish would I be to spend as much time as I do around Nate and not incorporate that part into my players, because it's a part that I wish I had better as a player. So I want my players to have it, and, when I'm around Nate, every Tuesday night, we talk for at least an hour and a half before we have an hour show. So we're recording, he's recording our conversations, because a lot of our best talking actually takes place off screen when we're just having conversation, so I learned so much, and then I'm at camp with him, and, I hear him and I see him, and, I pick up on things, and he refreshes my mind on things. And then I come back and I just constantly reiterate that same stuff to my players. So by doing camps, I'm really my goal is to become the best coach I can be and help my kids as much as I can. So it's kind of like, it's an extension of me continuing to try to bring more to my players than what I was able to receive as a player myself when I was in high school. Give them the best version of me that I can possibly give them. It doesn't mean I'm great. I'm not great. I'm not special. I'm not anything more than anybody else, but I do have an intent to provide these kids with as best experiences I can give them. And I think some of them would say that I succeeded, and some of them probably say I didn't, but usually when they get away from the game for a while, most of them start to see the light when they become adults and get real jobs and realize there's tough decisions to be made. And, they start to realize that they don't see it from the players' eyes anymore. They realize, holy cow, coach's job was a little tougher than maybe what I thought it was, kind of thing. So,
That's for sure. And they took for granted, when we all do, like you said, we all take for granted those things closest to us. You talk about that, and for sure, for sure. But I'm those kids are for sure lucky to have you. That's for sure. And all your passion and your servant leadership. You could tell, that's for sure. You're all, big component of that. And Coach, we went through so much. Is there any way, like, can people follow you more? I know that you're big on Twitter. And I know you do your show. You do your shows. Are they just on Facebook Live on Tuesdays?
Well, we've started a Mongero Monday now, which is it's on my Facebook, which is Winning Baseball. I have a fan page that I've had it for about 10 years. That page, and the Mongero Monday, how it's different than the Trosky Tuesday is infield specific, and Mongero Monday is more the coaching element, like everything involved to coaching. So it's pretty interesting. Tony Hildy, who is the quarterback at Boise State, I'm getting pounded with messages and stuff while I'm talking to you, by the way. That's what I keep coming up with. We have those two shows. So Trosky Tuesday, of course, is on Trosky Baseball's page. Mongero Monday is on mine. A lot of times it gets shared to both pages, so it is Facebook. Twitter, Nate and I are both big, there, at Coach Mongero on Twitter. I have an Instagram, but I don't post. It's more personal stuff there usually. And of course, CoachMongero.com is it's a new website. It's basically a landing page. And what I mean by a landing page is when you go there, once you scroll down, you're going to see like all the things that I'm involved with right now. So a lot of it is going to take you back to TroskyRanch.com, because, I'm a part of that team. Nate and I are a team, and we do a lot of that together. It'll take you to the blue collar lockdown. It'll take you to the virtual infield camp. But then I have the Dirt Brothers Baseball, which Nate and I both consider ourselves Dirt Brothers. He's a part of that, but those are projects that I did. So my winning baseball stuff, the books and DVDs that I wrote, so they would find that under the Dirt Bros stuff, and it's pretty evident when you start scrolling through, you can see, but it's a landing page for me. That's pretty much it. Oh, well, the YouTube channel, again, you can get to that. I have a pretty big, lot of videos online there.
Oh, yeah.
For the years, just a lot of little tidbits, but they're just snippets. It's far from everything. And we're going to have on Trosky Ranch, we're going to have a coach's membership and an infield membership coming up too. And our goal is to make that more than just, the typical membership. I mean, our goal is to truly make those memberships something that's really unique and powerful to the people that join. So that's all being created behind the scenes right now. So, and then we have the XM radio show. I don't know if you're familiar.
I wasn't familiar with that.
Yeah. So that's supposed to start this weekend. I think it's going to get pushed a week. Nate and I have a show. There's 6 channels on Sirius XM radio. Millions of listeners. It's going to be on complete player development. And Nate and I are basically hosting the show, and we're bringing in all sorts of guests, guys like Jeremy Shinger, Sheets, and, Tim Hires type people, all the connections that Nate has, people he knows, same thing with me, bringing those people and really interviewing them and getting them to share, what it takes to develop a complete player or a complete coach. So that's supposed to start this weekend. It's supposed to be this Saturday night. We certainly will be announcing it on Twitter, but you won't be even putting this out, whenever you do.
Yeah.
So whenever you do, you can probably edit that out. But, when you show it on Monday, this next Monday, so next weekend will definitely be our first show.
Oh, so cool. So is that going to be like a live event at your camp? You guys going to start when you guys are at camp?
No, it's actually going to be pre-recorded.
Okay.
Sometimes they're talking right now about us doing this every day of the year. Yeah. So we'll record a lot of the stuff on the weekends, like on a Sunday, and then, it'll play through the week as its own episode. We certainly have one a week for the entire year. Whenever we start. We were supposed to record tonight initially, actually Wednesday night, and then it was pushed to tonight. But Nate's in flight right now to DC for camp. So he's going to get there a day early, and then I don't fly in so he comes in tonight. I don't come in till tomorrow night. So the show is supposed to go this weekend. Yeah. So a lot of it will be pre-recorded, but some of it will be live. Just depending. If we don't have a camp, we can do it live, right? If we have a camp, we got to pre-record. So
every time you get together for camp, you'll be doing one of these radio shows. I guess you could do it all the time, though.
No, we do it anytime because it's just radio show. It's not like a Zoom.
Right.
It's radio. We just call in to the studio where they're doing it from, and we tie in our guest and we just talk. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's just kind of what we're going to do, just a conversation, and that's like you said, there's authentic conversations, kind of when you get the most nuggets. You're just having these conversations. So, but man, I mean, this was amazing. I mean, I just can't thank you enough. I really wish COVID went now. Like I said, I was really looking forward to being there because I've always wanted to come to a camp. And I saw you come in DC and then not being able to come. That was 2020, man.
Yeah, COVID is messing us up with numbers and the rules that they have for that area of the country. If this was in Georgia right now, there's no limits. KC is not quite as stringent, on their rules. They have rules. That's the next weekend. So DC is like hard numbers. Not letting the parents even in. I mean, they're being serious business when they're not even letting the parents come into the stands to watch. They got to stay out in the parking lot. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yep, that's the difference here in Maryland, that's for sure. East Coast. Yeah.
But we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you anytime.
Well, I'd appreciate it, man. That'd be great. I would love to do it. Love to do it. But because I used to the high school I was coaching at, head coach was Jim Schlossnagel's Jim Schlossnickel's old high school where he graduated
Okay.
from. So I've worked camp for Schloss at TCU, and always looking to work. I've even talked to Gilly about when we work in his camps too, and
Yep.
Tyler, so because you just don't. There's not too many. I don't know. Like infield is just a different thing. You don't see a lot of. There's no infield. You're not going to infield lesson. Guys that got a pitching and
Right.
hitting guy, but they don't have like an infield. So it's just I find myself I do that for our area, and I love infield play. Like I said, being the infielder I was and trying to help guys become that is different. And seeing you guys, what you guys do, it's awesome. It's awesome.
Well, it's part of the tools, and people, they forget that, if you don't develop your defense, you can be the best hitter in the world. I mean, how many DHs are there in the major leagues? I mean, there's 7 billion people on this planet. You better learn how to play defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think people are starting to recognize that, but you're 100% on the money. There are hitting coaches, there's pitching coaches, and you don't see anybody taking lessons for infield play. Very few. But these camps that we're doing are, what we hope is that they'll truly take what we give them and you got to take it back with you and work on it. Otherwise, you're going to get very limited benefit from camp. But we seem to really get motivated, hungry kids, at our camps. We get a lot of kids that have potential and some that are very highly skilled and others that are just very motivated to be good. And those players typically, they take notes at our camps. We want the kids. In fact, they're told in the emails they have to bring their journal. And we talk to them all the time. They take notes on things because the dull pencil is better than a smart mind. We give ourselves too much credit to remember. As coaches, as players, as parents, we have them write things down. And it's pretty amazing. Infield play, I thank you for being one of those guys because I needed it. I didn't really learn how to play defense until I was a junior in college. And I tell my players all the time, I think it's a pretty heavy statement, but, I certainly feel like my shot at playing in the big leagues would have been significantly increased, the odds, had I known what I know now when I was a ninth grader in high school as opposed to a junior in college, right? Mm-hmm. So I only had a very short window to try to develop that stuff. And some people are going to figure it out on their own. They did, and I think a lot of people did back in our era. But there's a lot of players that can benefit, and you speed up the learning curve, and they don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can really help them grow quickly if you just provide them the right tools. So,
absolutely. So, well, Coach, I know you gotta get some other things going on. I can't thank you enough for this time and for just being willingness to talk some baseball, man. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Wow, great stuff by Coach Mongero, and again, just want to thank him, and again, thank you guys for listening again. And please share this episode, text it to someone, share it on iTunes, their review. Share it on social media. Let me know what you think. And again, talk about a guy that is very detailed, a wealth of knowledge, and willing to share. And there's no ego to him. Very passionate about what he does. A true leader in the sense of he's worried about his guys first. And you can tell he's not going to ask his guys to do anything that he wouldn't do. He puts them first, serves them. And we're really fortunate to be able to have a conversation with Coach Mongero. If you haven't followed him on Twitter, please do at Coach Mongero, Mongero. Please check his website out at www.coachmongero.com. Check out his stuff on Dirt Brothers Baseball. If you find Trosky Baseball, you'll also find his stuff. Cannot recommend his infield clinics enough. You've heard in the conversation that we had, there's just people getting lessons with pitching and hitting, and you just don't see those things happening on the defensive side. And if you can be elite in something, you have a special tool, that's going to play. And it's great to have a guy like Coach Mongero and Trosky that really value those kind of things. And there's a ton of other guys out there that are doing it as well. Coach Mongero, just want to thank him again. I just loved servant leadership. I love his passion. I love how he talked about his why he does it, and his reasons that he wants to give it just a better experience than what he had. And he knows that there could be a great experience at the high school level. And so it's just, yeah, it's great to hear. And it was just he was such a great coach, and learned a lot of valuable information. Please check out his stuff at Winning Baseball. You'll see a lot of his routines from his throwing stuff. I know people, even around here, Maryland, are doing his throwing stuff. People for a long time has been doing his throwing stuff, and they're starting to take a lot more wall ball stuff, and it's great to see kids doing wall ball now. So, but keep pounding those routines. Check out his YouTube channel. Think about his big five from short hops, knee work, 3-step, 5-step, choosing your right hop, those kind of things. But remaining consistent on and off the field is how we talk about that. That's those mental skills that it takes for those elite players, and how he does that by modeling that consistency as well. He's consistently shown up for the last 29 years as a coach and 26 as a head coach. So please reach out to him. Again, let me know if you give me any feedback you can, or maybe someone that you think might enjoy the episode, or any feedback for the episode. But thank you, Coach Mongero. Again, thank you guys for listening, and keep getting better.